Our County Council meeting of May the 6th. And I will call the meeting to order and start the roll call. So this morning, we have the Mayor of Asheville Norwood.
Good morning.
Pat Wolf, and the Deputy Mayor, Lori Burke.
Good morning.
Morning. We have the Mayor of Cabot Monaghan online, Matthew Graham.
Present.
And the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Ryan Huntley.
Good morning.
Morning. The Mayor of Duro Dummer.
Good morning.
Heather Watson, and the Deputy Mayor, Harold Nelson.
Good morning.
Good morning. Mayor of Havelock, Belmont Methuen, Jim Martin,
Present.
and the Deputy Mayor, Hart Webb.
Present.
Mayor of North Kawartha, Carolyn Amoyat, is online.
Good morning.
Good morning. And the Deputy Mayor is here, Jim Whalen.
Good to be here, man.
And the Mayor of Otonabee South Monaghan, Joy Taylor.
Here.
The Deputy Mayor and Warden is in Hamilton today. The Mayor of Selwyn, myself, Sherry Senes, and the Deputy Mayor of Selwyn, Ron Black.
Present.
And the Mayor of Trent Lakes, Councillor Terry Lambshead, is online.
I am present.
And the Deputy Mayor, Carol Armstrong.
In person, I'm present. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now have our land acknowledgement.
With deep respect, we acknowledge the lands and interconnected waterways that bind us together, the foundation for all life. These lands serve as a keeper of history and stories and are a source of inspiration. In recognizing this, we embrace that all living things possess an important energy and purpose. We extend the utmost gratitude to the original peoples who have been caretakers of these lands and waters of this region from time immemorial, and to this day who continue this commitment. Peterborough County's dedication to reconciliation remains steadfast. In this spirit, we are committed to nurturing meaningful partnerships and connections that contribute to an environment of prosperity and well-being for all generations to come. This acknowledgement is made on the Treaty 20 land and the territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe, and within the traditional lands of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaty First Nations. Further, our gratitude is extended to the nations of Alderville, Beausoleil, Curve Lake, Georgina Island, Hiawatha, Rama, and Scugog Island.
Will you now join me in a moment of silent reflection? Thank you. I am looking for a motion to adopt the agenda as circulated. Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Burt. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, please note that in the minutes. We have our minutes of April the 22nd. I'm looking for someone to move them and adopt as circulated. Councillor Watson and Councillor Armstrong, all in favor. That is carried. Thank you. This morning, we are going to have our first delegation. Kevin Jones, Senior Consultant for Paradigm Transportation Solutions, going to be talking to us about County Road 10. Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you, regular members of council. I'm pleased to be here today to present our work on the County Road 10 Municipal Class Environmental Assessment. This is a joint project undertaken between the County of Peterborough and the Township of Cabot Monaghan, and it's really a growth-oriented project looking at improvements to the County Road 10 corridor. Next slide, please. The study area for our project was from downtown Millbrook to about 500 meters south of Larimer Line, so sort of in the urbanizing area of Cavan-Monaghan. And really the purpose was to build on the recommendations of your 2022 Transportation Master Plan, which recognized the need to improve this corridor to accommodate and facilitate growth. The part of this project really took that master plan recommendation to the next step to identify a preferred design for the corridor and to look at those design features and how to mitigate any adverse impacts. The study area was split into two segments. The south segment from Fallis Line down to downtown Millbrook, very different orientation, very different development patterns than the area to the north, which was north of Fallis Line to just south of Larimer Line. So I'll talk about each one of those a little bit separately later on. Next slide, please. So the study process followed the municipal class environmental assessment process, which all projects have to follow, that municipalities and that do infrastructure works in Ontario have to follow. There's 5 steps to that process. Phases 1 and 2 look at, what's the need and what's some of the alternative solutions. That was really covered off by the Transportation Master Plan. We really focused on phases 3 and 4, which is looking at alternative design concepts and producing an environmental study report to seek approval to proceed with the next steps of design and implementation, which will be a separate project that the county will initiate. We started this with public consultation. Our first session was in August of 2025. We've had a second public information center in December of 2025, and we're getting completion, ready to issue the notice of study completion. And during our project, we did have engagement with our local First Nations, particularly Curve Lake and Alderville First Nation, who helped us understand some of the issues and concerns they have in the corridor. And I think we've been able to accommodate and incorporate some of their feedback into the proposed project. Next slide, please. In terms of background, as I mentioned, this is really building on the 2022 Transportation Master Plan, which identified the need for intersection improvements on the corridor, urbanization, and the potential for widening portions of County Road 10 to accommodate growth. In 2017, the county also prepared an active transportation master plan for how to incorporate measures to improve walking and cycling on the county road network. On County Road 10, it was identified to look at putting in paved shoulders in the interim, but also looking at a multi-use trail, as part of the sort of ultimate implementation on the corridor. In the township, they've done some work on, obviously their official plan provides some guidance for how growth is going to occur in the township. They've also got community improvement plans, which really expressed a desire to urbanize County Road 10 as you come into the Millbrook community and to incorporate streetscaping and landscaping features to make it more of a destination as opposed to the traditional sort of county road highway kind of environment. Next slide, please. As part of our work, we undertook a few supporting studies to get a lot of background information. We updated some of the growth forecasts because growth never stands still. And there's a lot that's been happening in the Millbrook area since the Transportation Master Plan was done. We did a natural heritage report. We did a drainage and stormwater management review. We've done a cultural heritage report and a stage 1 archaeological assessment review to understand those types of issues and how to accommodate mitigation measures. Next slide, please. In terms of updated growth forecasts, there's been a lot of new development activity pending and sort of in the near future in the Cavan-Monaghan area. We've recognized all the developments that the county and township sort of have on their radar and looked at, what kind of traffic are they going to generate. And actually what we did was we updated some of the forecasts from the original Transportation Master Plan to account for that. In the future, when all of this area builds out, you'll have approximately 2,800 new residential units, providing homes for about 6,400 new people in Cavan-Monaghan. So that's going to put a lot of pressure on the infrastructure. And that's what really this project is about now, is how do you plan for that growth and support it as it comes. Now, recognizing developments will happen over time. We didn't use a particular timeline in this project because we know the needs will be generated as the developments occur, and the economy will dictate the pace of how that happens. But when this area is all built out, we're expecting to generate about 2,700 new vehicle trips in the morning, about 3,200 new vehicle trips in the afternoon. And, not all of them is County Road 10, thank God. About 21 to 23% are going to stay within Millbrook. What we've looked at in other sort of building communities in the county is that's sort of the range of how many people just visit local services and schools and shops and stuff like that. But about 78 to 79% will travel outside the community, either for work, shopping, or other types of activities. And that will be split between some coming into the Peterborough area, but also some going down the 115 to, some of the communities in Durham region. So as a result, County Road 10 and Fallis Line will take the brunt of a lot of that traffic growth. A little bit less to County Road 10 to the south, but and a little bit less on County Road 10 in the south part of the development area, or south part of the study area as well. Next slide, please. So our transportation needs assessment looked out to a 2051 horizon, assuming all this development happens by that time. And traffic volumes on County Road 10 can be expected to increase 5 times over what they are today. So that's a fairly significant increase. By 2051, County Road 10 is likely going to need four vehicle lanes between Fallis Line and Highway 115. To the south, 2 lanes will suffice, and we will be looking at some ways, or as the study progresses, we looked at some ways to accommodate that additional traffic appropriately. The section from sort of north of Fallis Line, or from Larner Line, I guess, just south of Larner Line to Highway 115 will be a separate study that the county will undertake at a later date. So we focused on the study area just south of Larner Line, but we wanted to understand those implications a little bit further to understand what the needs were. By 2051, traffic signals will also be required at a number of the intersections along the corridor, just to handle a lot of the development traffic that's coming out and trying to access the roadway. So County Road 21 and Distillery Street intersection in downtown Millbrook is going to require signalization to replace the all-way stop that's there today. Fallis Line is going to require signalization probably sooner than later. Highlands Boulevard is a new intersection that serves, a couple of the big development parcels that are currently under development. So signals will be required there. Larner Line and both the Highway 115 on and off ramps will likely require signalization into the future. In addition, as traffic volumes grow, turning lanes are going to be very critical at some of the intersections, even where you don't have signals, that will just provide a little bit more safety for vehicles trying to access those intersections and provide a safe place to refuge while you're waiting for a gap. Next slide, please. As part of the study, we also looked at natural environmental constraints in the study area. There's a number of water courses that traverse the area. We looked at each of those, Baxter Creek and some of its tributaries, Cross County Road 10 in a number of locations. There's some significant woodlands near Brookside Street, and there's some species at risk habitat areas. We didn't notice any species per se, but the habitat that supports them was there in the study area. Next slide, please. Cultural heritage was also looked at. We did an assessment of cultural heritage resources in the study area. Most of them, as you see on the map, are down sort of in the south part of the study area. A lot of the heritage buildings in downtown Millbrook. There's about 22 previously known and built heritage resource sites. There was also 2 cemeteries in the study area that we looked at. One sort of just to the north of our study area, which we had to assess as part of our work based on provincial direction. There's also a cemetery right at the corner of Fallis Line and County Road 10, which was a major constraint that we had to work our way through in terms of how do we improve the corridor but respect the cemetery that's there. Next slide, please. Archaeological, we do a stage 1 archaeological assessment, which really is a way of identifying what is the potential for, find archaeological resources within the study area. We would plan to do a stage 2 archaeological assessment, but some of the areas where we had identified the potential where we might have impacts are under development. And we're doing stage 2 archaeological assessments as part of the development application process. So we deferred that part of the project and rely on the work that's being done as part of the development approval process. And some areas will have some potential for recovery of archaeological resources. So in the environmental study report, there's procedures about how to go about that, if resources are observed during next stages of implementation. Next slide, please. So as we went through sort of an assessment of the existing conditions, updating our growth forecast, looking at how the corridor operates, we identified a number of problems and opportunities. And that's really the first stop of the sort of the EA process, to say, what are the problems you're trying to solve before you start looking at alternative solutions? And this was really an update to what was done in the master plan. So we got high traffic volumes, traffic congestion in a number of intersections if we do nothing. There's limited pedestrian and cycling facilities. There's only partial sidewalks on some of the areas of the corridor. A lot of it's very rural in nature. Doesn't really fit a new urbanizing community. There's limited sight lines at a number of the intersections that, will need to be addressed. And really the rural character of the road doesn't support, a design. It actually promotes high speeds, which is kind of counter to what you're trying to achieve when you're building a new community. Next slide, please. When we looked at the assessment alternatives, we looked at a number of different options. That obviously you can do nothing. And we have to look at that as part of the EA process. It kind of provides a benchmark for comparing all the other alternatives. We looked at intersection improvements only. We looked at urbanizing the existing road, improving and constructing alternate roads. Maybe you can improve another road, or widening County Road 10. What we decided to, through our evaluation process is really, there's a combination of things that we need to do. We may have some limited widening. We want to look at urbanization of the roadway and in putting in place intersection improvements where they fit. Looking at another alternative was looked at as part of the TMP and ruled out as too impactful and not really solving the problem. A lot of the developments happening on County Road 10, that's where the improvements are needed. Next slide, please. So to the south of Fallis Line, our preferred corridor alternative really maintains the 2 lanes, but we are adding a center turn lane throughout that area. And as I mentioned, that would make it a lot easier to access some of the smaller intersections that are already there and mature, and there's not a lot of growth happening in those areas, but it will make it easier for residents to get in out of their entrances, and the schools down there, so it'll make it easier for accessing the school. It'll provide safe crossing locations for pedestrians in the downtown. We've provided a new location for a new pedestrian crossing. It will accommodate the future travel demands that we were forecasting in this area with an upgraded 2 lanes with adding left turn lanes. Does increase the capacity of the roadway a little bit and will support those future volumes. And it's consistent with where we landed on the north side of north part of the study area as well. Next slide, please. To the north of Fallis Line, again, the term we can maintain 2 lanes. That will last you a long time. And what we're recommending is really, that's the starting point. You improve the 2 lanes, you put in a center turn lane, which will access all the developments and allow for future signalization of your new intersections. It will support access to your future businesses. Intersection upgrades will give you some protected pedestrian crossings, particularly when you put signals in. And it avoids a lot of the impacts on some of the natural features that are along the corridor. In the fullness of time, as we noted, you will need to look at widening this section of County Road 10 towards sort of the end of our planning horizon, and that will be a separate initiative that the county will look at the time when growth kind of dictates that demand. What we have done in the design, though, is we've protected enough property so that widening can happen without any future impact. So we've established a right-of-way width that will accommodate a future 4-lane configuration, or actually a 5-lane configuration with the center turn lane. And that will really set the county up so there's not a lot of new property impacts when you go to implement that widening. Next slide, please. The next part of our process was, again, looking at different design concepts, what sort of fits best within the corridor. We identified 3 sort of typical design approaches that we could use. One looked at, putting in paved shoulders, as was recommended in the active transportation plan, maintaining ditches and just putting sidewalks in. The other option looked at putting sidewalks, but having on-road cycling facility in a dedicated lane for cyclists. Where we landed was actually a bit of a combination. We put sidewalks on one side of the street and a multi-use path on the other side of the street. And that's consistent with what the long-term vision of the active transportation plan was, but it also provides facilities that are suitable for all ages and abilities. So we've got a school, we've got a community center, we've got some park lands, we've got some trail accesses. The multi-use path is being located on the west side of County Road 10. And that will serve and connect all of those facilities into downtown Millbrook and through up into a lot of the big subdivisions that are developing in the corridor. So that will allow kids to be riding their bikes on the corridor, but not having to negotiate around fast-moving vehicles. It will provide a safe area for all users. Next slide, please. So this kind of gives you a bit of a highlight of the proposed design. In the south end, we've really tailored the design to try and mitigate or minimize the potential for impacts to property, utilities, and natural environmental features and some water courses. We provide new traffic signals at County Road 21. We put a center turn lane in from County Road 21, basically all the way through the corridor up to Brookside Street. There's a little implication on on-street parking down in the south end of the corridor, south of Center Street, but we've accommodated that on the other side of the road. It's just because of the way the alignment's set up, it fits better on the east side of the road in the future design. The multi-use path begins at Center Street, where we can actually, accommodate enough width to do that without impacting features in private property. So south of Center Street, you still maintain the sidewalk that exists, and the multi-use path extends through the whole corridor. I've recommended a few areas where we should increase sight triangles at some of the intersections to make sure you can control visibility and make those intersections work safe. There's a lot of vegetation in a few areas that just need to be cleared out. And this gives you the opportunity to do that. And we've identified a couple opportunities for consolidation of some entrances to improve safety and make accessing some of these properties a little more effectively. And that will be refined as you go through the next stages of detailed design. We've also identified a few new retaining walls that might be required to limit grading impacts on private property when you put the trail in very close to the property line. There's different ways you can resolve that during design. You can either regrade the front properties or you can put in a retaining wall to avoid having to do that. Next slide, please. As we move up to the school area, what we're recommending is continuing the center turn lane through that area. That will provide a new, safe entrance for the school and some of the side roads in the area. We are removing or relocating the school crossing that's currently at Centennial Lane, moving it up to the north entrance of the school. That actually integrates with a trail connection coming from one of the neighborhoods. And we're actually upgrading that crossing. Instead of just having a marked crosswalk, we're putting what they call a pedestrian crossing, or a PXO, they call it. It's a level 2 type C, which would have the black and white signs with flashing lights that would be activated by pedestrians wanting to cross the road. And vehicles are legally required to stop when there's a pedestrian using one of these devices, as opposed to just a traditional crosswalk where, the pedestrians have to yield to vehicles on the roadway. So it's a safer crossing in school times as well. That's one of the key benefits of the PXO. It's not just at school times. The multi-use path, again, as I mentioned, will serve the school. And we have a driveway on the corner of Centennial Lane and County Road 10 that we're recommending might want to be shifted onto the side road as opposed to directly accessing County Road 10, because it would kind of be in the conflict zone of the turn lanes, and we think it's a safer design. And in this area as well, there's a couple of retaining walls we've identified to minimize property impacts. Next slide, please. And just at the north end, we end the left turn lane at the north leg of Brookside Street. This is an area where there's a water course along the east side of County Road 10. So we are recommending, protect for a retaining wall there, so we don't have to impact or disturb that water course. Well, this is a bit of a unique area, and this is something we responded to through comments that we got during the project. So this is the area where the steep hill comes down from Fallis Line and comes into the community. And the township has already invested in a sidewalk in that area. And one of the things with multi-use paths is it's used by everybody. So cyclists on a multi-use path on a steep downgrade will go a little fast. And that was a risk of introducing conflicts with pedestrians, particularly people like walking their dogs with leashes. It becomes a bit of a conflict area. So what we were able to do is maintain the sidewalk that exists and add the multi-use path beside it. So you actually have separation of the pedestrians and cyclists on this sort of higher speed section. So that should minimize some of the risks and make it a good usable facility for everyone. Next slide, please. In the north end, we start at Fallis Line. And as I mentioned, in here, we are looking at signalizing Fallis Line. That's probably going to be one of the first things that gets implemented as the county looks at accommodating development that's sort of imminent in the area. This is the area where we had to negotiate around the existing cemetery. So it's on the sort of the northwest corner of the intersection. There's a retaining wall already there, and this is the area we couldn't keep the multi-use path. There just wasn't enough room to fit it in without encroaching into the cemetery, and we really didn't want to do that. There's too much risks with, what you might find in those areas. So we're maintaining that edge with the retaining wall and pushing the alignment to the east side of the highway. And this will still allow for the future widening of County Road 10 to 4 lanes in this section. And that's how we've set the property limits on the east side, and that's been sort of worked with the development community in the area to let them know what the requirements are. The multi-use path will continue past the cemetery and serve the arena and community center, and then all the developments on the west side of the roadway. And green impacts on the west side, it does slope off to the side there, but we know that the developers are in the process of doing their planning approvals in that area, and they will likely bring their property up to grade to minimize any sort of grading impacts. Next slide, please. Beyond the cemetery area, what we also recommended is part of what we had to do is figure out where there would be suitable entrances to be provided on County Road 10 to serve the development. So the developers kind of had their ideas about where they would like entrances. We kind of married that with sort of the county's perspective on access management and their policies around where to put entrances. And we actually recommended providing an entrance location sort of right between the community center and the council office for Cavan-Monaghan. And that would be a new entrance that could be signalized in the future when it's needed. There's development across the road. It's going to be a fairly large commercial and mixed-use development. This will provide pedestrian access to the community center from that development, which I think will be key. I think there's going to be a Tim Hortons in there, and this Tim Hortons, they just create pedestrian activity, right? So this will be a safe place for that kind of intersection to flourish. It will require closure of the existing entrance to the Cavan municipal office and relocating that a little bit closer to the arena. Then the Highlands Boulevard is already built on the sort of the west side of the road. There'll be another entrance on the east side of the road to serve that large development parcel on the east side of County Road 10. And again, we will continue the multi-use path through this area on the west side and a sidewalk on the east side of the roadway. Next slide, please. And then at the sort of north end of the site, we had a number of different options about how to design that. There's another potential entrance we've identified sort of towards the north end of the study area, again, for a future road connection into one of the large development areas. That development is still sort of going through its planning approval process. So we've identified a location where it would be suitable, but we haven't provided the design for that yet because that'll be determined through negotiations with the developers. So we cut the widening and improvements off just north of Highlands Boulevard to give flexibility for how the county will implement this project in the future, and to allow for a transition back to the sort of the existing alignment. There was future traffic signals at Highlands Boulevard. We've identified entrance locations to allow development to occur, and continuing the multi-use path. Now, in turn, we may cut the multi-use path off at Highlands Boulevard for now until growth continues to the north. But we've protected enough property to allow you to continue as growth kind of dictates. And that's what a lot of this project has been about. Is partly about what are the improvements, but how do you protect for the future as well. The next slide, please. In terms of project costs, we've done a cost estimate, based on the design that we've undertaken. The north section, which will likely be the first phase of implementation, is estimated at $8 million. That includes all of the traffic signals, street lighting, sidewalks, multi-use paths, storm sewers. It doesn't include property costs. A lot of that will be obtained through the development approvals process. And the allocation of costs is going to be shared. There's going to be some that are county costs, some will be township related costs, some will be paid for by the developers as part of negotiations through their site process. So we haven't attempted to estimate the split on that yet because that's subject to ongoing negotiations. In the south end, the work there is estimated to be about $5 million. That's sort of a second phase of implementation, and I would suggest that the county would want to monitor traffic volume growth in that area, but also look at ways to implement some of the infrastructure like the multi-use path. Might be something you do earlier. A lot of that work can be done within the existing footprint and within the existing right-of-way, so there's not a lot of property acquisition needs. And that would be a sort of funding allocation through your budget and priority setting process. Next slide, please. So in terms of next steps, we've already presented this basic presentation to Township Council on April 20th. Township Council, gave us endorsement to come to County Council. They're on board with the design. And really, the next step is to file the environmental study report for the 30-day review period, which allows people to comment on it and us to deal with any final requests to mitigate impacts. And then issue a notice of study completion in the summer, which will allow the county to move into the next stages of implementation, which will be, doing the detailed design and get ready for tendering. So with that, I would be pleased to take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for your in-depth report and presentation. And I would remind council that we do have a staff report coming from Doug, and the questions would probably be better directed to our staff. So having said that, I look for someone to make a motion to receive Kevin's report. Councillor Graham.
Sorry, thank you. I just wanted to express the township's appreciation to Kevin and his team, and as well as county staff for all the work. The PICs, there's a sensitivity to, especially with the south end of the works to be done in the, established village of Millbrook. It's, it's a complicated thing. And I think Kevin and the county staff have worked with our staff quite well in making as many accommodations and listening to the local concerns. And I wanted to express that appreciation to Kevin directly and his team. So thanks for that opportunity, Deputy Warden.
Absolutely. Would you also like to make the motion to receive the report? Moved by Councillor Graham, seconded by Councillor Nelson. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. And now we'll call on Doug for round 2.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. The report in front of council today is obviously a summary of the presentation from Kevin. So by no means will I go through it again. I know you've already sat through it once, and it's been a long and detailed presentation. Kevin is here as well to answer some of the technical questions if those arise. I really just also want to highlight that this really was to show a partnership project with the Township of Cavan-Monaghan. I do want to express appreciation for their staff as well. They put a lot of hard work to get the CSR, the environmental study report, to here in front of you today. So I really want to also express that appreciation back to their staff. The other part I want to highlight was the last part of our recommendation here is that staff are recommending acceleration of $200,000 to commence detailed design of this project. So that's the next phase after this is posted for the 30 days and provides that approval. And really that's to get this project shovel ready for any provincial or federal funding opportunities. So we want to get through that detailed design. It'll take approximately 12 to a few more months than that, but approximately 12 months we can do the detailed design in, and then that project would be shovel ready for any opportunities. I do want to note as well, though, that we did have the opportunity to present a strategic priority project to the province. So that was done, and that's included as part of the report in Appendix C. You'll see a memo that was kind of generated there to provide to the province to really highlight this project is key for us to be able to implement to really support growth in the area and align with provincial housing requirements. And we do need to complete this from an operational perspective, but also, as Kevin's noted, we're protecting for the future. So it really will allow growth to proceed in the Cavan-Monaghan and within the county region in this area. So with that, we'll open it up to any questions.
For Doug. Councillor Whale.
Thank you very much. Doug, can most of this come out of development charges?
Through you, Chair. Yes, we do have, as part of this project in our development charge study, an allocation is in there to fund a larger portion of this project, but there still would require township and county funding to do it as well.
Thanks.
Councillor Graham.
And through you, Chair, just wanted to support Doug's request. With regards to the detailed design, I think there's a lot of the development that we've alluded to is still in progress and coming in the future, but there is a significant amount of the 345 homes in the initial development that's already there. And especially with the signalization at the Fallis intersection, it is an area of concern already for us. So we really and fully support Doug and staff's report in advocating for the expedition of this sort of development so that we can, already address some of the constraints that we're seeing from the traffic volumes that already exist and those that will certainly be coming as the development continues to come on. So if you're looking for at the appropriate time, I'd be happy to move it, Chair, but if there's other discussions, happy to wait.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for the report, Doug. Certainly with the development that has occurred in the Millbrook area already, and the development's going to occur in the future, it's easy to understand why this is necessary. And if you look at the whole project, right from County Road 21 north to the 115, the first 2/3 is what's being proposed in phase 1. And to me, that looks like it's going to be the most complicated and likely the most expensive portion of that entire section because the development's already there. So my question, Doug, is that because the last third of that section is planned to be finished sometime in the future, because of efficiencies, was it ever considered to do this all in one project? It's got to be a lot cheaper to do that last third when the equipment is already there.
Yeah, so through you, Chair. So as part of the Transportation Master Plan in 2022, this was broken up into 2 phases. And at that time, it really focused from Fallis Line South and saying that's an operational constraint area. The development's already occurred, so we need to fix kind of the problems that are there today, the operational stuff. Then we looked from Fallis Line, so more at that time it was more of a 50-50 split north to 115 to say, we know that's a growth area. It should really protect and look for 4 lanes, potentially 5 lanes with a center turn lane. So these projects really were split up for 2 different purposes at that time. When we got into this project through the resolution through council, we did accelerate a portion from Fallis Line North. And that's really because that growth has come earlier than maybe anticipated by staff. And so that's why we included that extra portion of it to make it more 2/3, 1/3 to your point. But really looking to the north end, we did do the traffic modeling from it. And that really would be a separate environmental assessment to look at. And what we're saying is to protect for those 4 to 5 lanes. But we're fairly confident in that for the horizon up to 2051, that's not going to be a need. So we're kind of saying that will be a project in the future, but to build it now may be a little premature. Like you'd have to resurface that by the time you got there. So there'll be a lot of cost going into something that really isn't predicted to be needed until that closer to that 2051 horizon.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, we have the recommendation before us being moved by Councillor Graham and seconded by Councillor Black. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you. Now we're pleased to welcome Jeff Hohenkirk, President and CAO of Campbellford Memorial Hospital, and Carrie Hayward, the board chair. Good morning. Thank you so much, Warden and Council, for entertaining the delegation from Campbellford Memorial Hospital. I'm the board chair of the hospital and also the chair of the redevelopment committee. And Jeff with me is our CEO. And also coming with us are members of our hospital board, our foundation, as well as our 2 redevelopment committees and staff, and the important person who donated the land for the hospital. And I'll speak to that in a moment. Really pleased to have next slide, please, an opportunity to present to you today this project because it is quite relevant actually to the county. I wanted to take a few minutes first to talk about why a new hospital is important and what it means to the Campbellford area. First of all, the existing hospital is 72 years old and it no longer meets modern healthcare standards. There's significant limitations for infection control pointed out by COVID. Capacity, we are regularly over capacity, and in fact, well over 100% capacity, and accessibility. So for example, you cannot, other than going through the emergency room, you have to go navigate stairs to come into the hospital. Washrooms are not accessible, they're shared washrooms. It really was built for a very long time ago. We're also facing a lot of growing demand, as you know. Are growing in population, and so we see increased pressure in our emergency room and inpatient usage, as I mentioned, being over 100% capacity regularly. And the existing layout and space can't support the future healthcare needs of this community. So in the area, we have
have developed a vision of a campus of care. And I want to just take a moment because you may not be familiar with the Campbellford area. So first of all, 48 acres of land have been very generously donated by Jim Kroll, who's here today, a local farmer. And on that land is on the edge of County Road 30, just as you come into Campbellford. If you're driving that way, you'll see a sign from the province now supporting the planning for that hospital. Our vision is to create not just a new site for this hospital, but a rural hub that will focus on the needs of the community and acknowledging the particular needs of the people who are using it. So not only will it be a modern design, we're also looking at on site the location of a new long-term care home that is being redeveloped by Omni Quality Living. They currently operate Burnbrae Gardens that only has 48 beds, and they're ultimately looking at 256 long-term care home beds. We're also looking to meet the future housing needs of seniors with supportive seniors housing on site, as well as professional medical services and other community services we offer, like mental health, and also taking advantage of the site amenities for some additional recreation. Regionally, this hospital is really important in terms of meeting care close to home. And we know when we're ill, that's the most important thing, is to be able to go somewhere nearby. We also know that having a modern facility will do a lot in terms of attracting the much needed healthcare professionals to our area. And I'll talk about the pressure on the local health system in a moment. Next slide, please. So planning a hospital is a pretty long process. And as you know, when you need provincial government money, they've got a very intensive process to follow. So there are 3 distinct steps of early planning, detailed planning, and then construction. Our aim is to open the hospital in 2032, at the latest 2033. We're in the area now of early planning, what they call stage 1.2 with the circle on it. I'm not going to explain all the rest of it because it doesn't matter to our presentation today. But stage 1.2 is really, really important because whether you're planning roads like your new county road extension or a new hospital, that you set the foundation by doing all a really intensive planning work. So we're right now in the middle of looking at all of our demographic statistics as well as the current utilization of the hospital. I'll share a bit of that with you in a moment. We're also meeting with our local municipalities to talk about the project and have a number of processes to engage our community. This current phase we're in, we expect to be completed at the end of October, and then that proceeds to the ministry for an approval that allows us to go to the next step. Simultaneously, we started discussions on the early works with the municipality of Trent Hills and to some extent Northumberland County, because being on the county road, we likely will need some road work on County Road number 30. But we also know that this project will involve a relatively short water and sewer extensions to the site. Next slide, please. So here's our geography in the catchment area of the Campbellford Hospital. So that big circle includes 11 municipalities, a First Nation, and 3 counties. So that's why we've been having a lot of meetings and partly why we're here with you today. Campbellford Memorial provides essential health services and the resources to the residents of this area. It's the primary hospital for residents of both Havelock, Belmont, Methuen, and Asphodel, Norwood. In fact, more than 25% of the residents in our catchment area live in the eastern portion of Peterborough County. So the hospital is also a critical partner in relieving pressure on Peterborough Regional Hospital and to some extent Quinte Hospital as well. And by having a strong and functioning hospital meeting local needs, it means that residents are only coming to Peterborough Hospital when they absolutely need to. And I'll talk a little bit more in a second about why they come there. But we very much are looking at how we play a critical role in the effective operation of all of the health services in this geography. Next slide, please. So in terms of why this is particularly relevant, as I said, 25% of people in Peterborough County come to our hospital. So we've actually combined some data that the mayors from and the councillors from Havelock and Asville Norwood have seen previously. So in fact, if people are of the emergency room visits, 60% of people in Norwood and Havelock, when they go to the emergency room, they're actually coming to Campbellford Memorial Hospital. And only 30% are coming to Peterborough Regional. So you wonder, well, why is that? And one of the first reasons is simply proximity. And of course, ambulances decide if an ambulance is picking up where they will take you, depending on the needs you're exhibiting. But also, when people walk in, they are thinking about wait times, which generally are probably shorter at Campbellford Memorial. They're thinking about the size of the hospital too. As much as Peterborough is an excellent hospital, it's intimidating, especially for older people. And Jeff will talk about the older people in our area. Next slide, please. So in terms of when people need inpatient care, 25% of the people from the two municipalities are coming to Campbellford for care, and 53% come to Peterborough, and then the rest go elsewhere depending on their specific needs. So this 25% is actually really quite important, because in terms of care close to home, that is one of the key factors. It keeps the pressure off Peterborough Regional Hospital. Peterborough, of course, is providing more specialized care. If you have a cardiac incident, or if you're having a baby, if you're having a stroke, for example, or certain surgical procedures, of course, you're coming to Peterborough Regional Hospital, because Campbellford is a smaller hospital. But we provide many services that can be obtained there. For example, endoscopy, or if you need a colonoscopy, for example, you can come to Campbellford Memorial Hospital. And we also, when someone perhaps has had a stroke and has come to Peterborough Regional for immediate care, then they're repatriated back to our hospital. And of course, that works out very well for their family members who want to visit them. And of course, we also have people admitted to us directly from the emergency room, depending on what their conditions are. The next slide just speaks to the overall demand in the area, and you can see how this has increased significantly even over the last year, with growth rates of over 8% for our inpatient days, our occupancy, and we're also increasingly seeing diagnostic imaging patients, because again, our wait lists are much shorter than some of the bigger hospitals in our area. Just going to explain a little bit more about the population changes and why this all matters, not only to our hospital planning, but to service planning you'll do in Peterborough County.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Warden and members of council. Next slide, please. So I will just share some fresh off the press data. So we've hired a planning consultant to help us with understanding the gaps, the needs as we plan our services. And they shared some significant data that actually has implications, not just on healthcare, but also on transportation, housing, schools, and businesses. And so I'll go through some slides to really show that why this campus of care is very important. So the data that we actually have shared is within the next 14 years, we're going to see an increase of seniors of 65 plus, from 2.6 million to 4.2 million. We're also seeing in our data that the population of 85 plus will actually more than double. And we all know that as you age, you need more healthcare. In fact, people with between 5 to 10 years of your end of your life will use more healthcare than you will use in your entire life. So with the shift of demographics, what we're seeing is the implications on our healthcare and our hospital is going to be increasingly important. Next slide, please. So with aging, there comes chronic diseases. And what we're seeing in Ontario and also right here locally is that there's an increase of conditions of people with dementia, diabetes, osteoarthritis, cancer, and kidney disease. And if you look on your right, there's some significant increases. And if you look at kidney disease of 361% increase. So that means dialysis. So we don't have enough dialysis right now locally, and there'll be more people that will need dialysis. We're seeing also an increase of 120 in cancer. So that'd be more cancer services that we're going to need locally. And lastly, there's a significant increase of osteoarthritis. So that means more frail people, more falls, more hips, more broken bones. So we're really seeing an increase of chronic diseases. And so we'll need continue services today, but we're going to actually need more services as our population grows older. Next slide, please. So what we're also seeing is that we are living longer, but we're also living sicker. So the days of 2002, when you would come to the emergency department of the hospital, you would come to the hospital with one chronic disease. We're now already seeing today, but also in the next 14 years, that you're coming with multiple chronic diseases. So you're coming with more than one problem. Hence, you'll need more services, more access to specialty, and more care as we grow older, which will be also equate to more costs to the system. Next slide, please. The population growth that we're seeing here is significant. It has a significant impact right here in Peterborough. Is similar to Ontario's average. We're actually seeing an 18% growth of population, and that'll have an impact on planning services, healthcare, schools, and transportation. And again, unfortunately for our area, we're growing older much faster because we are in a retirement community. But we're starting to see right now with this growth of population, there's going to be a need for more access to healthcare. Next slide, please. And this slide really shows that in the age of 75 to 84, there's going to be an increase of 56%. And as I mentioned, 85 plus is actually double to 164%. So these are very significant numbers in terms of making sure that we have to pay attention, but we've got to plan, and planning today as we're starting to see this growth within the next 14 years. Next slide, please. So why does this matter? The trends are showing that there's a rapid growth of population across Ontario, also within our region. We're also seeing a significant aging population, which will need more healthcare. We're also seeing a significant increase of chronic diseases and multiple morbidity. We're seeing very sicker patients who are staying longer in our hospitals, who are presenting themselves in the emergency department. And we're seeing growing pressures on today's hospitals, and not just in primary care, but there's actually lack of services in our area. So what we do believe is hospitals like Campbellford Memorial Hospital and our campus of care is actually important, not only important today, but it'll be more importantly as the population growth, for us to be able to play a significant role in healthcare in our region. Next slide, please. So why does CMH matter as a regional system? We currently provide emergency services and inpatient care, and we will continue providing more emergency care and inpatient. But as Kerry mentioned, we are a relief valve. So PRHC is already at full capacity. Northumberland Hills Hospital is at full capacity. Quinte Health is at full capacity. We just do not have enough services in our area. So what happens here is, and Campbellford is also at full capacity. We're full in our emergency department. We're overflowed, and we just don't have enough beds. Our emergency department is not large enough. We don't have enough primary care. We don't have enough physicians. But what we do believe is, as we build a campus of care, we can become more of a relief valve for these hospitals, and we can actually keep patients and people closer to home, provide the care that the region needs, and really complement what the system needs versus just running currently on how we're doing right now. So a relief valve, but also we call it an opportunity to complement and fill the gaps in terms of services that we do not have in our area. And as Kerry mentioned, seniors want to stay home as long as possible. They want to live at home, and transportation is a big challenge, but care close to home with our aging population is more important than ever. So a strong Campbellford Memorial Hospital will actually help the entire region as a healthcare system. Next slide, please. So how could council help us today is we're hoping that passing a resolution identifying that the Campbellford Memorial Hospital redevelopment is a municipality and a regional healthcare priority. We're asking for your assistance and continue helping us promote the upcoming engagement opportunities to ensure that there's broad public participation and support. We want to ensure that we continue getting advocacy to advocate that the government continues to approve our hospital, to ensure that they emphasize on rural equity, physician need and recruitment, and economic impact. And lastly, to begin exploring options for future support. Next slide is Zen, and I'm open to take any questions if there are.
Thank you very much. Some of it's a little depressing, but it's realistic.
I was looking for the word in the word just
Anyways, I'll open it up to questions from members of council. Councillor Martin.
Thank you through you, Deputy Warden. And thank you, Jeff and Carrie, for your presentation. Havelock Bell and Methuen's had a great working relationship with Campbellford Hospital over the years. We even went as far over, we've been a member of the Trent Hills Family Health Team. We weren't a member of the Peterborough Family Health Team for a lot of years now. And they supported us at our medical center. They supported our build for our long-term care on promoting it. And because it is really important to the eastern portion of the county, this hospital is really important. And the development that they're planning here is really going to help. Like they said, it will help Peterborough Hospital too. And I really think we need to support them in this, even though the county is a big county and some may not ever use it. The eastern end of the county needs this real bad. So yeah, I would be prepared to make a motion when the time's right, that our resolution that we support. Sure.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Burt.
There we go. Thank you through you, Deputy Warden. Thank you very much for the presentation yet again. I have a couple of questions, and first a comment. Yes, I really agree that that page on chronic disease and comorbidities, that is very depressing because we're all going to be there at that time frame. So yeah, but you know what? It puts a light on the need. So a couple of questions. You'd mentioned the campus of care, and you have long-term care, certainly the hospital, senior housing, and physician offices and other supportive services as part of the development. And you have a build by 2032, 2033. I was just wondering the order of that construction and that phased in approach. And I would suspect that 2032 would not be everything. So I just wanted to clarify that. And then we know the old hospital is, 75 plus years old by the time this gets done. And it's not part of this. I'm just wondering what the thoughts are to use that building for. Will that building be demolished? What will that land be used for? I'm just curious about that. I haven't heard that in a presentation yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Warden. So great question. So I start with the second half. We don't know yet in terms of what we're going to do with the older hospital, but it is actually not a functional hospital.
No.
There's asbestos, there's lead pipes,
Right.
It's just not a functional, hence why we need to have a new hospital and a new land. So we will work with the government. So there are a lot of ideas of what could be done in terms of turning it into housing and turning it into apartments. So it was too early for us to determine, but through that process, we will work with government to make that decision in terms of what will happen. But in our vision, it will not be repurposed in terms of part of our campus.
Yep.
To your second question, in terms of phasing, there's going to be a phasing approach, and you're absolutely right. We cannot build up everything in the 6 to 7 years, although Carrie would like to. But I do, what we're going to do is we're going to phase it. So we are looking now with our planners, and we're actually phasing in terms of what should go where and when. And so ideally right now in the preliminary phase is that the long-term care home will go first, and then we would go immediately after, and then we would plan after that. So all that is being worked out now in terms of our current planning. Is that okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Amiel.
Yes, thank you through you, Chair, to the folks and just to my colleagues as well. We're up in North Kawartha, so not necessarily too close to Campbellford, but do recognize the importance of supporting healthcare regardless of the geographical boundaries. North Kawartha is a big supporter of the Bancroft Hospital because we know many of our residents end up there. So I certainly appreciate you bringing this forward, and I would be supportive of any type of help that Peterborough County could provide you.
Thank you. So I'm coming back to Councillor Martin because you said, oh, sorry. First of all, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Chair Sanos. Thank you, Jeff and Carrie, for the presentation. I think you've done a great job of demonstrating the need for the expansion of this service. And frankly, I have no doubt that if Campbellford Hospital the new hospital was built tomorrow, you would fill it with patients. I have no doubt. One of the most interesting facts that you brought forward that I think is worth noting is that I think you said if someone lives to be the age of 85, in the last 10 years of their life, they'll use the healthcare system more in those final 10 years than they will in the 75 years before it. We all need to think about that. My question, though, to you, and this is something I'm sure that the board will have considered and perhaps talked about, is so that's great. I have no doubt that you can build this thing and fill it with patients, but now you're going to need more nurses and doctors and other staff. What's the plan to recruit those? Because that's a challenge everywhere.
Great question. And it becomes a challenge today, now and in the future. So we'll have to put a people plan together, a recruitment plan. So we're already now looking at working with government in terms of what type of services, what type of professions we can work now. We are looking at partnering with universities. We're partnering with Trent University, Loyalist, in terms of how we can actually start building now. What we're noticing now is as you start growing and supporting local talent, people will want to stay. So what we do believe right now is people train in other areas and actually don't come back locally. We actually want to be able to partner up and provide educational opportunities locally, and hopefully they do stay. But this is a big ask, and we'll also look at different types of care models. So the days of physicians and nurses in terms of working in scope, we're seeing, just like in pharmacy, there's an expansion of scope. So we're seeing different types of healthcare providers providing helping in terms of scope, like PSWs, RPNs, physician assistant. So we have a lot of work to do, a lot of planning to do, but we do believe we can do this. And what we're noticing also is physicians who are graduating and nurses are graduating, like new buildings, like new state of the art, and they will come.
Thank you.
Councillor Black.
Through you, Chair. Thanks for the presentation, Jeff and Carrie. I came to Peterborough in the late 70s as only the second respiratory therapist in the city of Peterborough, and I have fond memories of coming to Campbellford. Back in the days, you didn't ventilate anybody. They had to come to Peterborough for that. So I was on the transport team for that. So great little hospital, always has been. Population growth, you touched on it in your slides. I know Peterborough County in the last census was double-digit growth, and we're certainly seeing seniors coming to the area, moving to their lake homes or recreation properties, and that is increasing the pressure on all aspects of healthcare. And you've mentioned, as Councillor Taylor mentioned, also the number of comorbidities that we'll have. The Campbellford Hospital redevelopment, is it including an addition to the number of beds that you have now? Is there a number that you're going to add, again, to address that population growth and healthcare need?
Through chair. Yeah, great question. So that's the process we're doing now as part of the planning. So through our population health, through the comorbidities, through the aging, and through the services we have, and through the services we don't have, and through the services that we need as a region, that will actually go into a formula in terms of an ask, in terms of the number of beds, but also in terms of number of services, in terms of a number of surgical suites, also maybe ambulatory care centers as well. So all that will be into a formula. I could say with confidence that we need more beds. We will have more beds. We'll have different types of services, but as that's to be determined in the current stage that Carrie just shared.
Thank you.
Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I echo my colleagues. Thank you for your presentation and to your board for your presence here today. There's no doubt that, healthcare on the macro, we need to make better investments, and Campbellford makes, good sense based on the business case that you're bringing forward. Of course, at the end of the day, the business case is what needs to be evaluated by the province. We all know that, municipalities can't be on the hook or shouldn't be on the hook for funding healthcare. I'm fully in support of the first three asks that you have in terms of how can council help in terms of advocacy and the community engagement and support. I'm curious more about the prepare side, what that looks like for future support. Will this council anticipate a financial request in the future, or are you looking for greater advocacy, recognizing 25% of your patients are coming in who are from the county, and also keeping in mind that we have a regional healthcare center right here in the city of Peterborough, which of course all the county envelops. So we need to balance that role as well. So I'm curious what future support looks like to you and to your board as we start having those conversations.
Through you, Chair, and great question. I was hoping you didn't ask that one. No, good question. So yes, to be very transparent, we'll have to come back and figure out in terms of how do we actually support our local share. Right now, the way the capital bill works is that the government pays 90% of the hospital and 10% has to be raised from the local share from the community. So we're actually working on in terms of what does a local share look like, based on utilization, based on growth, and then we're going to come back and in terms of how can we actually raise that local share collectively. Keeping in mind, and I would agree in terms of balance in PRHC, but there are a lot of patients that from our community that go to PRHC that actually cannot come back to Campbellford just because of the lack of services or lack of bed or lack of space. So what we do believe is that as we build the right services, we can repatriate people back to Campbellford, which will allow Peterborough Hospital to be able to do more of the work that they're designed for. Also, we're working very closely with Peterborough Hospital that there are lower acuity, so less sick people in the Peterborough area that possibly can come to Campbellford to this new hospital to allow Peterborough to actually do more complex patients, more specialized patients for the region. So we are really looking at a different type of partnership and how do we serve this area as a partner more so than what we do today. So collectively, I do believe that we're all going to feel the challenges and we have to think differently and have different types of partnerships. So in terms of balance, I think we're having the discussions now as we speak. And in terms of financial support, we don't have that number at this point in time. But collectively, how could we afford this in terms of keeping people close to home and provide services in this area?
Thank you.
Thank you. No other questions? Coming back to Councillor Martin.
I would like to make the motion that we pass a resolution identifying Campbellford Memorial Hospital redevelopment as a municipal regional healthcare priority and advocate for it.
And to receive the presentation.
And receive the presentation. Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you. Did you get that wording? Okay. All right, so now we are going to have a retirement presentation for Ian Mudd, our Director of Planning, Development and Public Works, and Sheridan Graham. You have the honors.
Thank you, and through you. First, I'd just like to recognize Ian's partner, Christina, who is here. Christina is no stranger to most of County Council, who worked for us for many, many years, and then the Township of Doradummer and Cadmonaghan as well. So thank you for being here. And Mary, Ian's mother-in-law, thank you for being here. So normally council's aware that I like to Google what happened on the day someone started and make a little note about that. But when I Googled July 4th, 1995, nothing actually happened that day. Nothing that was of any exception other than that Ian Mudd started work at the County of Peterborough. So I just had to, and I give my apologies, write my traditional poem of retirement. So this one is titled The Master of Planning, Ian Mudd. For years, you've led with steady hand, master plans and development so grand. From OP maps to zoning debates, you've navigated all of the twists and fates. You've juggled budgets and bylaws too, solved problems most of us never even knew. If something broke, we call your name, and somehow you still took the blame. Through meetings long and emails wide, you kept the wheels and us inside. And yes, while plans are carefully drawn, we're pretty sure you ran on coffee alone. Now bids and builds can carry on, but we'll all notice something is gone. No one else will quite compare or fix a crisis with humor and flair. So trade your laptop for some rest. You've truly given us your best. Through development, though development stays straight and projects work, we'll miss our favorite planning. I was going to say jerk, but I said perfect. Just for you, Ian. Enjoy the days with no red tape, no late night calls you must escape. Retirement's plan is simple, you see, no meetings, just time to be. Thank you, Ian, for your service to Peterborough County. And we would like to present you with a certificate from Deputy Warden.
Yes, thanks, Sheridan. And I just wanted to mention that the warden was really sorry that she's missed this momentous occasion for you, Ian, today.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we wait a long time for a day like this, so here we are. After 36 years as a municipal employee and 31 years here at the county, I finally reached that magical moment where my alarm clock and I have agreed to go our separate ways. When I first started here, we had a fax machine and we had DOS-based computers. There was no internet, no email. You spent most of your day on the phone, and while you're on the phone, someone was continuously coming in, giving you a pink slip to let you know somebody else was trying to get a hold of you and you had to call them back. How things have changed. Now the phone barely rings, and we seem to get about 80 to 100 emails a day instead. In-person meetings have mostly been replaced by Zoom and Teams meetings, often back to back to back. When we used to make maps by hand using, pen and paper, scale ruler, lettering machine, today it's a few clicks on the GIS and you hit the print button. Through it all, I've always loved my work here at the county. It's always varied and the challenges were many and the rewards satisfying. In my role as a planner, I don't know that there was anything that felt better than reading an OMB decision and seeing that the chairperson agreed with my opinion. Selfish, I admit, but gratifying. I'm competitive and don't like to lose. And of course, when they didn't agree with my opinion, well, there was obviously something wrong with their end. Throughout my years, I do have a runny nose. Throughout my years, I've always been proud to work at the county. I've traveled our borders from north to south, east to west. By car, motorbike, foot, snowshoe, canoe, motorboat, snowmobile, and ATV. I've hunted it, I've fished it. There's truly no better place to live, work, and retire in Ontario. I built many relationships over the years with lawyers, consultants, developers, CA staff, township and city staff, provincial staff, and our residents. In dealing with all of them, I've always ensured that the county was seen as helpful, reasonable, professional, and responsive. I always wanted this corporation to be seen in the best light. My successful career here was not a solo effort. I had the pleasure of working with so many gifted coworkers at all levels within the corporation. I won't name them all. Some of them are behind me. I won't name them all, but I will take a nod to a special few. I'd like to thank the members of the senior leadership team and the leadership team for their support, commitment, openness, and teamwork. I don't think I have to tell you this, but you have a very talented group working for you. I did a count the other day and figured in my 31 years here, I've worked for 7 different CAOs.
Wow.
2 in particular stand out to me personally. First is Gary King. Gary was the first CAO to promote me to management position, and for that I owe him a lot of gratitude. I have lots of great memories with Gary. Some I can repeat here today, some I shouldn't. He worked extremely hard, as all of you knew, and he played even harder. The second CAO who stands out to me is none other than our current CAO, Sheridan. We picked back in the late 90s when she was our purchasing clerk and I was the senior planner. Even then, I could see she had a drive in her that I knew would lead to great things in her career. When Sheridan was promoted to CAO a few years back, I was so happy and proud for my friend and colleague. Totally deserving of the role, and kudos to the council of the day that made that happen. When she approached me to take on the role of Director of Planning, Development, and Public Works, I was truly honored and have done my utmost not to let her down. She knows she can always count on me for a frank, honest opinion, and I'm very frank, and the ability to keep things light and get a chuckle when she needs it. 3 other staff need to be acknowledged, and I'm intentionally saving them for last. First up is Christina Coulter, who worked in our planning department for 20 years with me before moving on to be planner for the school board, then planner for Cab Monaghan, and then Earl Dummer before she retired last year. Now, we were such a good team here at work that we decided to carry on that teamwork outside of work. And she has been my partner for the last 17 years. Through our blended family, we've raised 5 boys into 5 great young men. We have 2 grandkids, and we just recently found out we have another 2 grandkids on the way this year. So you know what we're going to be doing in retirement. Christina is living proof that you just never know who you might meet at work and how we can change your life forever and for the better. Next is Brian Weir. We worked together side by side until his retirement in 2024. Brian is a gentleman through and through, as you all know. And although he was my boss, he always treated me as an equal. I learned a lot through Brian's empowering management style and his ability to look at things through many different lenses. We were more than just co-workers, but are great friends, and I look forward to spending time in retirement with him. Lastly is Keziah Holden, who was behind me, who I hired right from university when she graduated to be our planning technician. Through her years, she has advanced to planner, senior planner, and now general manager of planning. She has supported me behind the scenes for many years, and I cannot convey how much I have appreciated her work ethic, her knowledge, her professionalism, and like me, her humor. Keziah, thank you for being such a big part of the planning division, and I wish you the greatest success in your new role, and I know you're going to be great. To council, thank you for your support over the years. I don't say this lightly, as I've worked for many councils over the years. And I came in the other day and looked, and I started here. So I have the over this council. But it's been a real pleasure to end my career with this particular council. The respect, professionalism, commitment, and teamwork you have displayed over the last 4 years should be a blueprint for future councils, and I really mean that. For those of you running in this fall's election, I wish you well. For those of you not running, thanks for your time and dedication to make the county a better place. Okay, I've said enough. Time to hang up the skates and call it a career. Thanks for everything.
So Ian, can you come down? We have a
Sure.
plaque to present to you. And then what else? All of them. So that be sure. And everybody come down and we'll be behind or in front of the screen. This one, but it's this one.
Can you think we need to be tea on screen?
You get it.
Oh, yeah, Carol.
Yeah.
I get it. I know. But you see it on the screen. So we have people on the screen. Carol,
Get everybody on the screen?
no. Close.
Maybe round it or maybe a little bit of hurt, so you can not be between you. Not too
Oh, sorry.
Yes. Carolyn, I think we need.
Oh, you need to go over a little bit.
Stand up, Carolyn.
Jim, Jim over a little bit that way.
There we go.
Other way, a little back.
Stand over
Yeah,
there.
oh.
One more.
Wait.
Hey, has the clerk received any requests for anything to be pulled from consent? No, is there anyone that wants anything pulled? If not, can I have someone move the consent items? Councillor Nelson and Councillor Armstrong, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Right, Doug, you're up for the next report.
Thank you. And thank you, Chair. Through you, the report in front of you today is in relation to the Gilchrist Park Bridge. And so just to do a little bit of background on this project, DM Wills was retained as the county's engineer consultant to complete a design on this project, really looking at a major rehabilitation or replacement. The structure was built in 1955, so it's close to that 75-year age that we would expect out of a structure of this nature. It was determined, though, I do want to note, through that report, they did provide a structural design report, and really in that, they highlighted to us that a full replacement was required, so rehabilitation could not be completed. And really that to do a full replacement, that couldn't be done in a staged construction. They said it really wasn't a viable option due to the constraints of the existing bridge and the natural features in the area. So with that, as you can imagine, due to the limited road network and the natural environment with the water courses and stuff in that area, staff looked at a full closure for this project to do the replacement of that bridge. And that isn't shown in figure 1 in the report, but it's approximately a 40-kilometer detour length. So fairly substantial in nature. We have done that on other projects, but really wanted to look at that and do some consultation with our EMS services. So specifically, we did engage Township of Duro-Dummer staff. I want to say thanks to them for their collaboration and input on this project. But specifically on this, what really was highlighted to us was the fire services. And so they really expressed to us that it wouldn't be viable to support a detour of that length. It would really impact response times due to where their fire trucks service from. The other part I want to note on this is that the use of the old canal bridge, which is just adjacent to this structure, is posted with a load limit. And what that means is we've looked at it over the years as it's deteriorated. Our engineer record has provided a recommendation to say that that has to be posted to certain loads, certain restrictions per axle can use that bridge. But we really do want to note that an ambulance could use that, but a fire truck could not. Even if it was not loaded, even if they put the water on the other side, it's still a fire truck of that nature would be overweight, so could not use that structure today. So from that, county staff went back to our engineer consultant to say what options do we have, and that's included in the report today. You'll see it from DM Wells. We've included that. But essentially, there's 4 options, and that's included as alternative 1. You'll see 1 through 4 in the report. Alternative 1, though, I just really want to know is the original recommendation. So it's kind of like a do nothing option, but we used it for comparison. We realized that it's probably not the preferred option or viable option, but we wanted to use it for comparison purposes only. So that's really alternative 1 is a full closure, use the full detour for all services. Alternative 2 is to utilize Gilchrist Bay Road, which again, this is shown in figure 2 to elaborate where it is, but it's just adjacent to this bridge. So it's a fairly short detour road if we could use that road. And that would be used, we're recommending for local and emergency access only. That road really couldn't support as a full detour just due to its current condition. and dimensions, it's okay for the limited use it gets today, but it could not support a full detour of 2,000 to 3,000 cars that would need it to be supported on this route. But again, in order to do that, in alternative two, staff are recommending that we accelerate the replacement of that structure, which was allocated for 2027. So we're recommending accelerate that to 2026 to replace it, so then it would have full highway capacity loading, which would support a fire truck on this detour. I do also want to note, just with that option, just to highlight, if we did defer, if that was the preferred option and selected, if we defer the Gilchrist Bridge replacement itself, RJ has expressed there would be no health and safety concerns. So it's not that this bridge would have any risk deferring it by 1 year. Alternative three is something we've done in other scenarios, so we want to provide that as well. And so that's a temporary, like a Billy Bridge type of structure that you'd put in adjacent to this existing structure. In this case, there is some large rock outcrops. And so, as you can see here, there's a substantial cost, about $880,000 it would cost to rent a bridge of that nature. And that includes, though, potentially some rock blasting you would have to do, because we have to move the road alignment to put that structure into the north. There are some close proximity of some residents in the area. And so from a technical viability perspective, our consultant really has kind of expressed some concerns with that. Although it can be done, it's just highlighted in the report some of the concerns around that, as well as that it would also increase the lead time and the duration of the construction on that. So a good comparison chart is shown in Figure 3 in the report. We tried to take all alternatives, show you different criteria we've assessed by, and really out of that, based upon the evaluation of the alternatives in front of you today, staff are recommending alternative 2. Really feeling that balances maintaining that EMS services and the local access, while really considering replacement county infrastructure and cost. I do want to note, if approved by council today too, though, we have highlighted the need for to engage a communication strategy. And really what we want to do there is get ahead of understanding this is a fairly lengthy detour. It would be advanced warning signs, social media use. So we really would do that with alternative 2, really trying to highlight to the public that is fairly substantial in length for that detour. And the other part I do just want to note with alternative 2 would be, we've had a conversation with potentially the OPP, would just be if we did use alternative 2 with that local access on that road, and we would need additional enforcement, just knowing that we do want to really restrict that to local access only, it is enforceable, but you do need some police presence probably to support that early on in the project. So with that, I'll turn it over to questions.
Okay. Any questions? Councillor Whalen.
Yeah, Doug, I was down in Cornwall and was going along, and I noticed something, kind of strange with there was guardrails and everything, but there was no bridge. And I stopped and went down, and they had 2 huge culverts, side by side.
Yes.
And so I looked into it with a friend down there, and he said, it's been there for 35 years. It's one of the main roads to the 401. And never any problems with it. It's flat as a pancake on top, because it's just like a regular culvert. And why couldn't we on these roads like this use a culverts instead of building a whole new bridge?
Yeah, so through you, Chair, that is definitely an option, like a multi-plate culvert or a large culvert, a precast we do install. I just want to note on this, it's a span of 20 meters. And so one thing we do have to look at when we're replacing structures is the hydraulics. So we can't impact in advance of the stream. So we can't narrow, let's say, the amount of water that could get through that course. So typically the most financially viable option is like a precast girder system. So those would come precast, they come to the site, and then we launch them that way. That really is the option that DM Wills is recommending. And that's based upon, really comes down to the project you're trying to provide versus cost. So we're providing a cost-effective solution by doing that. But that solution does have merit. Typically, it's in smaller span locations where we use that stuff.
Just asking.
No, great question. Yeah.
Councillor Huntley.
Through you, Chair. When you talk about using, I think it's the Gilchrist Bay Road as the alternative for local traffic, I understand that, but what about the not local traffic? Like, there's no other bypass here. Like, it's a journey to go anywhere else, right? So what do you then consider local? Like, if there's people who live on have cottages or whatever on the east side of those lakes, are they local at that point? Or are they going to find a really long detour to get around there? Thanks.
Yeah, through you, Chair, it's unfortunate circumstance that it is, but the detour length would be for anybody that's passing through. So local is that you live in the area, like on that road. If you're not, unfortunately, if you're going to your cottage or you're going up to the golf course, you would be instructed to use the detour route, which is approximately 40 kilometers. So it's about a 20-minute detour. Do want to note 20 minutes is kind of your worst case. That would be assume you came to the bridge and then had to turn around and go around. And that's where we're kind of recommending if we had a communication strategy in advance, we could really mitigate that detour length. But yeah, local is meant to be if you lived on that road. So it really is limited to a few vehicle users. The through users would have to use the detour route.
Councillor Watson, then Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, Doug, thanks for your work on this. I know I was speaking with our CAO and heard positive feedback in terms of how the process went in chatting with our fire chief and public works manager. My question kind of piggybacks on Councillor Huntley's question around local traffic and that communication piece. And obviously, the township will play a big role in that communication piece, but understanding how far ahead of it that we can get, knowing that we have so many seasonal residents who aren't really paying attention to what's going on until they're here. I mean, they'll quickly find out, but how we can further support that. Personally, I'm in support of option 2. I think it makes, it's the most viable and makes the most sense. I'm not as concerned about the longer deviation around like the 40 kilometer or 20-minute drive. I think about, the causeway and the relevance there. And it's a minor, it's an inconvenience for sure. But once it's there, then people will plan that additional time for it for the construction period. So how can we support the county with the communications and lead time and getting out ahead of this?
Yeah, through your chair, great comments and question. So something just to note on timing, if accepted through council today, the Old Canal Bridge would be replaced this fall. So that's definitely something we could do this year. So that wouldn't have the same impact as when we get to Gilchrist Park Bridge. So which the positive there is it gives us that much longer to plan for the communication strategy. So something, again, if approved by council today, is staff do engage that early. We'd probably start that relatively quick. Probably within the next month, we'd start that communication. It is directly with township staff, so we'll engage your staff to see the best platforms to use. We found very effective roadside signs. They're fairly inexpensive, but we put them in advance, and we can again have some conversations for what are the strategic maybe locations to catch people. But it's definitely, I would say, definitely something we would do well in advance. It would not be like a week before. We plan these things well in advance so that we can get out to the residents and customers to really say, hey, this is what's happening. Please be aware.
Right, thank you for that. And just to follow up, I would ask that that get out in advance for the 2027 construction period is almost also fall of 2026, because when seasonal residents and visitors are leaving, September, October, and then we're starting project potentially that spring when people are coming. I don't know the timing of it,
yes,
but just so that we're getting really ahead of that messaging and coupling some of the messages around the old bridge replacement with the future project that's planned as well. So thank you for that. And Chair, I'm willing to make a motion whenever you're ready to take that.
Okay, and Doug, would you like to respond to that? Because I'm a little confused with these dates now.
Yeah, so through you, Chair, absolutely, that's something through communication strategy. We have worked with other township staff, even if there was a newsletter or in the tax roll, like it's something we could definitely put in there to try to get to everyone. So I think we'll start that communication strategy early, and then we can definitely get it out in conjunction with township staff on that. So I definitely made that note, and I think that's something very viable we could do for this fall to have that engaged.
Right, Councillor Nelson.
Through the chair, thank you. I just want to echo my support, Doug, on this project, and I believe you have come up with the best solution for our ratepayers and for the people living on there. And unfortunately, we have no other choice but to put it is a long detour, and I understand that. And once people get to know what's going on, I'm sure it will go fairly smooth. There'll always be a few hiccups, as always. When there's detours, there's always somebody that doesn't get the message. But anyways, thanks for that, and I support it as well. So thanks, Doug.
All right, are there any other questions? If not, Councillor Watson, you wanted to move that? Oh, Councillor Taylor. It's a blind spot with you this morning.
Thank you, Chair Sanis. Doug, I'm sorry, there's something I'm just not understanding, and I'd like you to help me. In option 2, you have Gilchrist Bay Bridge on the main road and Canal Bridge just 75 meters upstream, right? Option 2, I think, includes replacing Canal Bridge so it will now accommodate fire emergency access, correct? So while that's happening, traffic can still use Gilchrist Bay Bridge. When Gilchrist Bay Bridge is going to be replaced, then traffic is diverted up to Canal Bridge. And Canal Bridge is only 75 meters upstream. How does that require a 40-kilometer detour?
So through you, Chair. So maybe to further clarify, the Old Canal Bridge and Gilchrist Bay Road, the road itself, it's essentially a one-lane road. It's a very low-volume road today. So it's not built to withstand 2,000 to 3,000 cars, two-way traffic. So really, it cannot be used as a detour road in alternative 2. It can only be used to service the homes that are on there. But the main thing we're saying is it could still service the fire, the EMS services. So they could use a detour, but unfortunately, the detour would be similar to option 1. It would be the entire detour lane.
Okay, thank you. That's the part I wasn't getting. Thank you.
Good question. Thanks.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Seeing none. Councillor Watson, you were prepared to move this recommendation?
Absolutely, Chair. Thank you. Through you, I will move the recommendation that's presented before us on the report today, that the report be received and that we move forward with alternative 2 and accelerate the completion in 2026 for the Old Bridge.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Burt. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Is there any notice of motion? See none. Are there any announcements? Councillor Burt.
Thank you, through you, Chair. The Mayor Wilfred had announced this last time, but because it's 2 weeks ago, I will re-announce it. Today is McHappy Day, and with Norwood having McDonald's in their village now, you would be supporting Ronald McDonald House and locally Hucklebug Childcare and our Asphodel Norwood Public Libraries. So those of you who may be traveling Highway 7 East, may wish to stop on your way home today. Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any other announcements? Seeing none, we will now move into closed session. So I will need a motion to move in. Councillor Hart-Webb and Councillor Amiot. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you.